Hi, I'm Candace. Good morning. Today we're going to work on the yin within. This is really great stuff, and I'm really happy to share this with you because you deserve to feel accepted just by being here, just by being anywhere that you are. So we're going to talk to ourselves today in a way that allows us to feel better about who we are, and that even when we're in challenging situations, like I went to go get gasoline and I didn't know what I was doing and I was thoroughly humiliated, and we'll leave that aside that I don't even know how to put gasoline in a car. So that I deserve to be here. You deserve to be respected and honored for who you are. Ancient Chinese philosophy says that we have these channels or pathways through our bodies they call meridians, like pathways. And through that flows chi, which is an energy. It's a lot like a prana in yoga, but it's a little bit different. It's much more of a physical energy. It's much more of how we are physically or physiologically connected. And the way they describe the type of energy, the type of chi, is yin and yang. So the example I'll give you, if that doesn't immediately resonate with you, is if you were to ask me for water, and then I'd say, what kind of water do you want? You'd say, well, there's only one kind. Well, there's hot, there's cold, there's mineral, there's all kinds of different qualities. So yin and yang relate to the type of energy, hot and cold and fast and slow. There's energy that moves differently and behaves. So the properties of energy are yin, which is the slow, purposeful, connected, deep, strong, intuitive energy. It's deep within the body. And yang, which is the active, warm, energized. It's towards the outside. So most yoga practices really have to do with the yang. We're flowing from downward dog and upward dog, and we're getting the sort of the surface energy moving. But today's practice, we're going to lengthen those, we're going to call them meridians. They're the lines along the connective tissue, the fascia, which is like a webbing of shrink wrap. But think of it like a web more than like a sheet. So do this. Look at your wrist, the underside of your wrist, make a fist, and then move your wrist in like you're going to curl, do a wrist curl. See the thing that pops up in your wrist there? That's a tendon. So the tendons are the things that connect muscles to bone to help the bones move. If you were to move the fingers, one by one, as you're curling that wrist, you'll see different tendons, and lo and behold, there's 5 of them. Right? So there's 5 tendons that pop up in your wrist. So feel around for what a tendon feels like. It's hard. This connective tissue is hard collagen fibers that have different viscosities, but usually they're hard, so it's going to take a lot of work. Then try this. Make like a fist and then open your hand. If you were to try to grab one finger and then make that fist, well, the muscles are going to stop you from doing that, right? You're not going to be able to make the fist. If you were to pull on your finger, you could feel you're pulling your joint apart. So notice the difference. If I contract the muscle in my hand, I can't stretch the tissues of the ligaments and the tendons and the cartilage and the fascia. But if I were to relax my hand, I can pull. Now, it may not feel good to pull the joints of your fingers, so not all muscles and not all joints should be yin stretched. Those deep stretches, not all of them. It's really only the biggest joints. So there's only a couple of poses we do, and for the point of our practice today, I'm going to name them differently so that you don't confuse with our normal hatha yang process. So let's start here with the breath. I want you to sit up tall on your bolster and then pull the lower belly in. So for a moment, just lower the eyelids down. Wherever your arms are, let them soften. And I want you to find space within. Now begin slowly recognizing your breath. So the most important thing I want you to remember about today's practice is that we, you and I and everyone around us, are in a dance of healing with and for each other. That even though I'm describing physical structures inside of our unique and individual bodies, Yin principles teach us that everything, everywhere, is connected. And because of that, you deserve to be honored for the beautiful being that you are within. We have surface structures and then we have deep structures. So right now, as you're beginning to recognize breath, check in with the space deep within you. So I almost want you to ignore for a moment the aches and the pains of the muscles and the bones and go in to where there's like a deep well. In that well, there's breath. In that well, there's space. And in that well, there is a unique connection to all. Now, let's breathe together. We're going to inhale for a count of 3, but exhale for a count of 6. So just breathe with this time. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now when you're ready, open your eyes. So if you want to do the Ujjayi breath with that ocean sound, just make sure your exhale is just a little bit longer than the inhale. So that should have already accessed your parasympathetic nervous system. Let's come to a supported child's pose. So if you have a blanket or two, come around, make that blanket or two nice and tall in front of you. Rest your chest, maybe, because I'm kind of small, I have to straddle with my knees, this blanket, and then sort of hug onto the blanket. However this is comfortable for you. All that matters is that you're fully supported. So this isn't like in yoga where we are aligning our chakras so that the body can flow necessarily. What we're doing is trying to access the deep well. So get comfortable. Just like when you go into a deep sleep, you have to be comfortable. That's the number one thing. So once you get into your fully supported child's pose, or I think they call this like turtle pose for this purpose, I want you to close your eyes and consider the qualities of yin: open, yielding, connected, intuitive, feeling, deep, invisible, rhythmic, natural, relationships, circles, spirals. Yin is slow. Sometimes it's seen as cold or dark. It's invisible. If you have too much yin energy, if that's all you do, you spend all of your time caring for others and neglecting your own needs. You're very intuitive and you speak the truth. And you've often been told you shouldn't. You've been blamed and you've been told that you are dangerous. So you may be holding on, covering up, but maybe that's holding you down. So go into that deep well. And I want you to say to yourself, I will stop criticizing myself. I will stop solving defects in myself. Three of those slow exhales. The inhale is necessary, But let the exhale open a space where you can check in. So if there's layers, we're going below layer 1, 2, maybe even 3. And we're going along these channels or lines or meridians, just like the pathways to get somewhere in the world. Slowly begin to come out of that pose. Now what I want to really do now is sort of warm up and get us ready to go into deeper poses. So we'll come to hands and knees and turn the toes under. Now shift your hips left and right. So we're going to do a little flow just to warm up. Then we'll slow way down. So our first child's pose brought us to the space where there's connective tissue. And the connective tissue, it runs deep. It's not just at the surface. There's some fascia like at the skin. Most of that's pretty weak, right? Now slowly begin to move into cat. And then cow. Remember, your exhale is long. So the poses are held in yin yoga are held for about 2 to 5 minutes. That's considered a beginner yin yoga practice. A more advanced one is 8 to 20 minutes. So let's see if we can make some of these up to 2 minutes. That would be good. As you're flowing slowly from cat to cow, notice that there are places that are surface. So there's surface tension in the body. That's usually what you notice first, not always. But when there's tension or a disease that's deep within your body, it's very hard to figure out what it is. We can't really see or feel. We can't differentiate. But we can. And that's the goal. So when I said go into the well, go deep into the couple of layers into your body, pause to check into that space that you just entered. So now kind of come up, turn your toes under, see if you can come up to a kneeling. So with your toes tucked under, go this way, with your toes tucked under, see if you can kind of sit on your heels. All right, so let me grab blocks here. So I'll use the blocks to hold me up. And then see if I can walk these blocks back and then sit on the heels. So now you can't see. Now I'm sitting on my heels. Okay, it probably feels like your toes hurt. If your knees hurt, then bring your knees closer together. If your knees still hurt, then don't do this. There's a lot of people that this is the case. Another situation you could is stack these blocks and just sit on them so that you're not working so hard in the knees. So give yourself a couple of those options to see what you're doing. The goal here, though, is to turn the calf muscle out. So grab that flesh and roll it out, both of them. Roll the heels just a little bit out, but to push the feet down into the floor so you're cracking the toes back. So we're trying to open up all the lines, all that shrink wrap all around the body to get deep into the connective tissue. That chi is the energy that flows. Let's say everything feels pretty comfortable here. Maybe you're sitting on your heels and you're pretty comfortable. I don't know. Try walking a little further back. Remember, knees down, knees a little in. Yes. Now I can kind of tell, I can feel it, through the airwaves of the world. This is hard. This is hard on your knees. This is hard on your toes. This is hard. I haven't met anyone this isn't hard for. So give yourself permission to just come out of this. This is reclining hero pose. And the purpose is to stretch. We're going to get really into the psoas. The psoas is the deepest. I'm going to say it's the deepest muscle. I don't know how you determine that, but it is a deep muscle. The quadricep muscles on the front, and of course the bottoms of the feet. So let's see if you can hold this another 3 or 4 breaths. Try to keep that exhale long. Remember, yin is deep. And then come up and out. Okay, so I'm letting you go. I'm letting you out of this pose a lot faster because we're new to this. I know that's a challenge. So let's move into a downward dog. Wow. Wow. I feel this. I'm going to give you options here. You can move your feet closer together towards each other and closer towards your hands if you want. And try lifting one leg up and back. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to stretch. I'm just going to tell you to yawn your hip. So you know when you get up or you're tired and you get up and you move your body because it needs to yawn. So if you need to spiral this leg around, or stretch, take their foot and touch the back of your head, those kinds of things. Just yawn this hip. Now take the same knee and land it on the floor in the center of your mat. Then slide this other leg all the way back. So kind of like pigeon, but in yin we call this sleeping swan. So pause just to get comfortable. Then I'm going to grab my blanket here. Same as before. I'm going to use it like a pillow or a teddy bear and hug it so I can lay down. So it's supporting this other side of my body. One side's being supported by my knee, the other side by this pillow or blanket. All right, just get comfortable. That's all. That's all we're doing. Let's slow down again. Two of the biggest, most important, muscles that hold deep. The history of how you've been hurt. The history of how you have tried to interact with this world and it has kind of beaten you up are the psoas, that deep abdominal gut muscle, however you want to call it, and the gluteals. In fact, all of the abdominals. So right now we're stretching that gluteal into the side hip. So go deeply. This is a super thick, strong muscle. And it's not just a strong, thick muscle. It's encapsulated in a tough, fibrous shrink wrap. And that shrink wrap is very thick on the side of your hip. It's very thick to hold the hips together. To get in there takes minutes of deep, deep lengthening and yielding. Say this to yourself, I am healing. I am healing myself to recreate my self-perception. So imagine that you're made of something like Play-Doh, because we can kind of imagine that. And that you can be reshaped into something else. That's what we are doing. We are healing from the deepest level to recreate our own self-perception. Let's try about 4 or 5 more breaths. Again, I'm letting you off easy. We should probably spend another 10 minutes just on one side, but we want to get through this. Long, accepting, space creating. Exhale. One more time. All right, when you're ready, try getting out of this. When you come out of a yin pose, it takes me a little bit. It's not something you jump out of. Things have shifted in transition. Let's try cat-cow again. Remember that leg. Don't forget which leg you did. All right, as you're moving from cat-cow, picture, I'm going to call these words meridians. Picture, they're like just millions of strings You know, maybe how the inside of a ball has like lots of, a ball of yarn has all this string interweaving and woven, but it's one string, right? Every single string is part of all the other. So as you're moving from cat-cow, you are absolutely affecting that hip that we just stretched. You're absolutely affecting the lungs that we've been focusing on. They're that deep, like a labyrinth, you know, that everything is swirling around all the same stuff. It's all part of one universe. Now, keeping your lower belly pulled in a little bit, walk your hands a little forward. We're going to let's do a supported puppy pose. So I'm going to bring my blanket kind of under my chest, you know, where my heart is. Walk the hands a little forward. Keep the hips up, but then drop the chest, you know, the heart, down onto the blanket. Now my microphone is there, so I'm having trouble doing this. So chest down, maybe chin, I don't know, maybe on your block. So your chin is sort of forward. That's a little high for me. So I'm going to let my chin come down a little. Remember, in puppy pose, we have a bit of energy. This is not child's pose. So this is a little bit more yang. And again, I'm just interspersing a couple of other poses to keep you awake, to keep you noticing. Because everything requires energy. You can't go somewhere without energy, without gasoline. You need the energy. It doesn't have to be a frantic energy. It can be a slow, deep, intuitive, rhythmic, connected, feeling energy. That's still energy. So the goal here in puppy pose is to get the heart down. This is really a good shoulder and chest stretch. We're bowing down, so it's changing our nervous system. It's changing blood pressure systems. Remember, you and I, all of us, we're in a dance of healing with and for each other. 3 slow exhales. Begin to make your way back up into hands and knees. Splay the fingers out. Remember those fingers. Turn the toes under. Brace the abdominals. Move to downward dog. Downward dog, not necessarily a yin pose, because there's quite a bit of energy in downward dog. Maybe walk your feet towards each other and towards your hands. Stretch the other leg if you want, up and back. This is where I said, loop and spiral the leg and hip around. Yang is that independent, active, direct, logical, intellectual, controlling, powerful, fixing. If you have really high yang energy, you have endless task lists. You never stop doing. There's problems everywhere that need solving. All right, when you're ready, take this knee down to sort of the center of the mat. You can kick your foot out and flex your foot back. Slide the other leg back. You got it. We call this sleeping swan here. And do the exact same thing. Grab a bolster or a blanket, hug it, and soak down. Recognize as you're coming into this pose that there's no wrong way to be. Just like yin and yang, those qualities exist in all of the universe in differing amounts. It's not wrong to have too much yang. It's not wrong to not be able to switch evenly. We're just in a healing dance. Sometimes yin, sometimes yang. And so recognize that the reason you are what you are is because of experiences many of which were out of your control. And so you are a result of having to navigate those rivers. Sometimes those rivers were very tumultuous. And so you adopted strategies of thinking and being that got you through that. And you may still be holding on to those strategies. So when you go in, and I'm healing myself, I'm recreating my self-perception, forgive that you are this way because you're human and you experience those rapids. Just receive. Remember, yin is a receiving, receptive, deep wisdom is deep. Just receive, like that there's wisdom there. And it's okay that sometimes you can only see one part of the picture. And then sometimes you can't see anything. That it's just human. This is a condition we're all experiencing. Our bones are light and heavy at the same time. They're actually probably much lighter than you think. It's the water in our bodies that give us our weight. But think about the bones being porous. That's important here. That bones are not like rock. They're not like just hard stone. They're living. They make bone marrow. They make blood cells. They make other stuff too. They're really more like a network, a scaffolding that's very, very much alive and moving and changing. Now I want you to do 3 slow exhales. Slow down in the space you are creating. All right, begin to come up out of this. Let's come around to a seated pose. Yikes, I feel this. Let's try what we call butterfly, which you probably know. You probably know just by the name of it, it sounds like. Soles of the feet together. Now I'm keeping my hands behind me for a moment because my low back and my glutes just got this like amazing deep, deep, deep stretch. And so I'm going to give those muscles a little break. I don't want to stretch them yet. Not yet. So I'm giving myself a boost up. I might even grab blocks and push a little up and forward first. But you do you, right? You're an amazing, beautiful child, the spirit. If you want to grab onto your feet and start pulling, maybe that's, if you want and have, maybe you have a really, really, really big blanket here. You could support your chest and hug it and roll forward. Maybe that's an option. Maybe 2 blankets, one under each knee, if your knees are popping up a little bit. I'm going to stay with the pushing rather than pulling right now. Because we're trying to stretch this inner thigh into that iliac psoas, those inner thigh muscles. Remember, we're trying to open. It's almost as if I could have called this practice today open. We're trying to open to a receptive, deep, inner, rhythmic nature. Again, like we plant a seed, and then we have to be open. It has to open. It has to receive the nourishment that's around us. So being able to tell when your body needs nourishment, for example, when it's time to eat and how much to eat, that's about listening. And it's not an easy thing because we have so much activity on the outside to pay attention to. Let's give this one another 4 breaths. I know you probably want to come out of this pose. Remember that the truth, that wisdom has always been there. But you've been met with fear and hostility. Don't say that. Don't say that. That's not nice to say. We pretend like something's not true. One more slow breath. But the truth is in there. Just acknowledge it. It's okay. And then we'll release. We're going to make our way back into low lunge this time. Remember, moving in yin means absolutely moving slowly. Take one foot forward, one knee back. I'm going to grab these blocks again. We're going to get into that psoas. If you do one pose today, it's this one. Okay, so for yin practices, we call this dragonfly. You know, it has this wing. This knee is like a wing. So see if that knee needs to float out or back into the iliopsoas. It's all about the iliopsoas. And in yoga terms, this has a lot to do with our sacral chakra and what's safe and where our root is. So let the dragon wing fall open. Don't hurt the ankle though. Don't let the ankle twist and turn. Never good on the little joints, wrists and ankles and knees. Never good letting them twist and turn. Then bring this knee over the heel so it's a nice solid, planted leg. And then use your hand to hold, push. Now begin to extend slightly backwards so the chest is moving back. Take this other hand to the back of the hip and push that hip forward. All right, I'm twisting a little, but don't try to twist. Try to aim at the front. So picture the pelvic bowl or the pelvic plate. Sitting on it is this muscle, the psoas muscle. It's like this blob of muscle on the inside. And that's what we're trying to get into. Now this hand on the back hip, I'm going to use my block and try to drop that shoulder down. So I'm going to try to get this back shoulder down. So I'm going to take this block really low. Shoulder down. So I'm trying to pull this shoulder away from and drop it from this front hip, this front inner thigh. That's the psoas. That's getting a good stretch here. Be careful with this one. We're not going to hold this one for a long time. There's a lot going on in our low backs that may be too much compression for you today. 3. Remember the slow, deep, like the river below the river. There's the surface that's going fast, and then there's the slow, almost unmoving, the dirt, I guess, the rocks. And then make your way back up. Wow. Let's try the other side. Or pause for this half monkey pose where you push the hips back. And then go to the other side. So first, just what we call dragon, where one foot is forward, and you let this front knee maybe twist open, if that feels like the right kind of stretch. I'm really feeling this like deep, meaningful, powerful, like release deep inside. Oftentimes, we talk about that as having our deep traumas. So don't be surprised if you're feeling a little, melancholy, feeling a little taken aback today. That's okay. It's all part of this human experience. Create the space and then go into the space. It's not just physical, not just the physical space. Then we'll try. Knee over the heel, push down, rise up, push the hip forward. So this other hand comes back and behind the hip and gives that hip a push forward. Yes. Yes, and the chest begins to lean just a little bit back. Open, receptive, spiraling, rhythmic, intuitive, feeling, circles, relationships, connectedness. Then this backhand, take it down. I'm going to see if I can kind of reach down towards my calf there and let the shoulder drop down. I'm just trying to drop my shoulder down, almost like I'm leaning a little bit over, but it's the shoulder I'm dropping and getting this long stretch. I'm not going to stay here long. I know there's a lot going on. Maybe your back knee is talking to you. Give this 3. I'm going to be on my side during this recreation. One more breath. Come back up. Wow, I think that's enough. Let's come back to a seated pose. Pause when you get there. If you want to, fix the legs. One leg maybe crosses. So this is called in yin shoelace pose. In yoga, we call this cow face pose, where you have the knees stacked over each other and then maybe dive forward. This is me diving. This is as far as I'm going to go today. Let's do 3 long breaths. Another option is to add a bit of a twist. I'm not big on the twists here. But by all means, trust your body to give you a roadmap. Remember, we're going in and in and in and in, deeper and deeper. Push off, come up. Let's try switching the other leg on top, or if you're crossing the legs, shoelace pose, the shoelaces out and you're pulling shoelaces out. Dive or don't, or twist. So most of our practices are yang, just they're full of action and activity and doing, trying to figure something out. But today our goal was to stop solving, these alleged defects in our mind body and just accepting you deserve to be here unconditionally, and that you're just having a human experience. The hip bones, the low back, bones, and the deep muscles we just stretched, the psoas, iliopsoas, and glutes, they're deep. And so it takes time. It's like they've been hardened because they've had to be hard. They've had to hold you. Right? You had to get up. When you were 1 year old, get up and walk. That's what's important. Get up and walk. Last breath, and then come up. All right, let's come down to the back and prepare for Shavasana. So what I want you to do is come down and probably come into a twist. Knees to one side. Go this way. I'm going to do my arms in sort of a angled. I'm just spiraling, just taking everything I just did, taking all the outer layers and letting them, I'm going to use the word spiral in, like we're not separate. The body's not just this, layers of physical tissue. Not at all. Maybe even roll a little bit to your side and catch a foot or two. I'm catching my bottom foot there for a little unique cattail stretch. All right, make these last, this side, 3 breaths, long and kind of strong. Ocean breath. Almost like you're telling yourself, this is the storm. This is where we're stirring up the last bits. Good. Make your way over to the other side. Spinning the knees and hips. Maybe angling the upper body. Maybe rolling more towards your side and catching the lower foot. Again, we're getting that same diagonal. If you're doing this weird cattail pose with me, we're getting the same lengthening diagonal because remember, this yin is a deep spiral. It's a circle. Everything is connected. So we're connecting things that seem to be, the outside back to the inside. So that's why all this hugging, that's why all this pulling inward. So we're feeling connected. We're taking the ends and tying them back together so that things, they make sense again. There's this harmony. There's harmonious, natural, rhythmic relationship. Give this a nice, deep, kind of vibrant breath. And then when you're ready, come into full Shavasana. If you can and you want to, use your blankets, use your pillows. I know, going a little over, but take another 3 or 4 minutes. Give yourself this time, because this matters. So get comfortable. As you're settling in now, I want you to open up to a bigger picture. Not you, your body, or even your relationships, but some big picture. As you relax and release, as the outer layers of your body now soften, and that inner deep well expands. I want the voice in your body to say this. I am going to be on my side. I'm going to plant myself in the present reality and help myself. I am a good and caring person, and I deserve to be treated the way I need to be treated. I accept and I love myself unconditionally. I am having a human experience. I have been receiving what I have chosen. And I can choose differently. I release any barriers against receiving love and abundance. I now feel the love that flows in my life and in my body. I want to thank myself for doing this practice. And I am now reaping the benefits of this deep connection. I now feel safe, and restored. Inhale deeply. Let everything expand and receive. Let it go. And then slowly begin to roll to your side. Come back up when you're ready. So we're going to end with a yogic, touching the heart, Anjali Mudra. I'm connected to all, very similar. Inhale and circle up, stretch up. Exhale, circle back, move back. You and I come back together peacefully as one. Namaste.